Hey, welcome to another installment of the Fragments of Silicon Reviews. Three games up this week, the first of which is Monster Boy and the Cursed Kingdom. Let's see. So, if you recall, we didn't, God, how long ago was the interview?
Quite a while, because it was
Yeah.
mostly pursuant to the Switch version, which came out a while ago.
Yeah, well,
This is definitely not this is a console's first game.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, we did have the not so much the developer of the game, but we had the publisher, FDG Entertainment, on the program like last year, maybe a little more than that. It's been a measure of time because Monster Boy and the Cursed Kingdom is not a new game, strictly speaking. That is to say, this got released. At the tail end of 2018, I think, November, December.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, and the thing of it is, the PC port just hit the streets like about a week, this week or last. I guess last week is now because it's Sunday. Anyway, it hit just really recently. And so now is the time to review the game. And indeed, if you don't know what Monster Boy is, it's the latest entry. It's the latest entry in the, I guess, Monster World franchise at this point. It's a combination of the
Wonder Boy and/or Monster World.
Yeah, it's this whole confusing tree that we've covered in the past on, a topic of discussion. I think we did that around the time of the interview as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is a shambling snake of a franchise with many different iterations, and it became Monster World because Monster World 4 starred a girl.
Mm-hmm. And then this one is Monster Boy because partially licensing reasons and then other reasons too.
Well, it's in continuity with the other games. In fact, there are reference to previous heroes in the Sanctuary, for example. And one character brings up, they're looking for Monster Girl, or the protagonist of the Monster World 4 game. I forget her name offhand.
Because you do actually have an actual people name. In this case, the protagonist's name is Jin.
Yeah, there we go. Because Monster Girl is actually technically the palette swap version of Monster Boy from Monster Boy and the Dragon's Trap remake.
Which we also reviewed when it came out, which was...
Actually, we did not.
Oh, we didn't?
No.
Well, we talked about it.
Yeah, we talked about it, but we never got a review copy of that game. And we never held an interview about that game either. Believe me, I wanted to do that, but they never accepted. So, that being said, Monster Boy and the Cursed Kingdom is a new game in this franchise. It's got a new story, and despite it basically
it actually has significantly more story than some of the previous members.
And I'm like,
okay, it seems to have a lot more text.
Yeah, more cutscenes, I'd say, but more story, I guess. But I'm like, it's still a pretty simple platformer kind of story, and it's still it's falling into the Dragon's Trap template, pretty much exactly. Monster Boy here gets cursed, has to lift the curse, but doesn't do that until near the end. It's like, and indeed, indeed you spend a amount of time as different bestial forms. It's
all of which have advantages as well as disadvantages.
Yeah, it's just you're starting out as a pig instead of a dragon. The dragon form, that's the 5th form.
The dragon form is a flying dragon this time instead of.
Yeah, he's your flying form this time around. Like, but it's like, you know, you do have like rough analogs with other ones, like the Mouse Man becomes a snake. Like,
and each form also, once again, this game has like RPG style equipment, and what form you're in affects which of the equipment that you can own you can actually use. For example, the pig is too fat to use anything but bracelets.
Mm-hmm. And the snake is too small to use anything. Like, you don't actually start
too small and also not handed enough.
Right. I'm like,
I mean, snakes can use swords, but it's not easy.
I'm like, yes. The point is, you don't start using gear until Form 3, the Frog. Like, which is actually more a Frog Man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, and the difference this time around is, and I suppose this is the entire philosophy of the game, there's more of it. Like, you know, there's not just like more text, more, like the game is significantly longer. I've put 15 hours into it, and I'm still, you know, I've only explored like 40% of the map, for example.
Mm-hmm.
It puts into perspective how, you know, how much bigger games have gotten since, you know, the 8 or even 16-bit era, you know, when they want to be. You know, because that, you know, like we've covered other retro type games here recently, you know, like Blazing Chrome, for example. That is a very short game because that is the style it was going for. This
and also that kind of game would be exhausting if it was super long.
That's true. But, you know, this kind of game has, you know, the I suppose it's proper to call this a Metroidvania now. I mean,
yeah, it's funny how much like a Metroidvania these games are, kind of.
Well, it's like this one in particular, because, you know, Dragon's Trap has that added element of, you know, gaining skills.
Right.
I want to say that, I'm trying to remember if that was in the Genesis one, but I don't think so. I had the gear and all that, but, like, you know, and Monster World 4 didn't have that either. Like, that had the genie powers. Mm-hmm. So,
I mean, technically you're gaining new abilities with your new forms.
Yes, but in this game, this is even more pronounced because your new form get new powers.
Yeah, like, you get like an emblem for the form that gives them a new ability.
Yeah, it's like, for example, the snake gets a headbutt ability that allows it to break rocks.
Which actually is kind of reminding me of the way Shantae does it.
Right. Or the lion has a updash attack that he can learn later on. That kind of thing. But even further still, the gear this time around actually bequeaths abilities. Like, for example, the double jump. The double jump is now a boot ability. And it, like, in order to have that, it depends on the type of boot you're wearing.
Mm-hmm. Which can be relevant because there are set bonuses, and maybe the one you want to use doesn't have that.
Right. And this is all further augmented by another modern invention, crafting. Because apparently you cannot be a game these days without a fucking crafting system. I mean, it's not a major one. It's not like Bloodstained or anything, or like Niflheim. No, this is far simpler. It's basically you need to find a gem, which are hidden in various chests. And there's a few kinds of gem. You know, there's like the regular red gem and the legendary blue gem, and you get those to unlock the powers within various items. You know, for example, there's a suit of armor where when you upgrade it, you are immune to poison. You know, there's a bracelet where if you upgrade it, you can shoot out ice shards with the ice sword. And some have like one tier of upgrade, some have multiple tiers. And not all are upgraded by the gems. Like, I still haven't figured out how to upgrade the mage boots yet. In keeping with the theme of more of it, there's more unlockables this time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's standard stuff like not just getting new powers, getting more health. There's the golden armor sets.
Which you find in pieces and then have to find someone to assemble.
Yeah, the blacksmith is somebody you'll come across in your quest. Like, he'll flat out tell you, I only smith gold armor. Mm. It's just, you know, you have to find 5 pieces of each armor. Though a thing that comes back from Dragon's Trap is, or at least I think this is in the remake. The point is, I do remember it being a thing in previous games. Is if you have a specific armor set, you get a bone or a set of armors and weapons. I think. Anyway, a full set of frost items. You will get a bonus from that if you're wearing everything in that set. And as I said, I know that was a thing in a previous Monster World game. I just don't remember which. You know, it's like they do kind of blend together because there were a bunch of them back in the day. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so yeah, that's kind of the basic feature sets that's underpinning this game. You know, quite a bit more systems and not so much things to keep track of. Oh, right. There's another bonus. The special skill of the pig is to use magic, and there are 5 magic powers you can use, like fire, lightning, wind.
I think at least some of the other forms can use magic, although I think the pig is the best at it.
No, it's just the pig.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. I figured the pig would get by just on the whole I can smell stuff.
No, he gets by using magic. Like, it's because the other forms can use weapons, like actual fucking weapons.
Right.
The pig only has.
Yeah, I mean the snake also can't use weapons, but the snake's whole thing is being tiny, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, the pig has hoof poke or trotter poke, and then his 3-hit combo is trotter, elbow, belly.
Yes. Like,
yeah, I have this game back from when it came out on the Switch because we were hoping to review it then, and
yeah, it didn't pan out then. It panned out now. I said, like, if it, because console versions of games are much harder for us to get because they have to pay for those.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas a Steam code, yeah, they can get those for free. So, no issue getting this code.
Uh-huh.
All right. Let's see. So that's the overall gestalt of Cursed Kingdom. And, I suppose the question is, how does it play in comparison to previous works? And
the game feel is pretty much the same to me.
Yeah, it's got the same game feel as previous games. If it feels different, it's because of the different forms and what they do. Mm-hmm. Like example, the Dragon's Trap had nothing like the Frogman in the game.
Because the Frogman's thing is hookshot tongue.
Yeah, it's like, the frog has a extendo tongue, which you use to get around various areas quicker, or you need to do that as a challenge.
Mm-hmm. Exactly like real life chameleons, and exactly unlike real life frogs.
I'm like, frogs can't wield swords and shields either.
No.
Like,
but it's just a joke about the fact that frogs don't actually have super long tongues.
I know. Fair enough. Anyway, so yeah, the game, when it feels like when it's comparable to the classic game, like the pig jumping or what have you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's slightly stiff compared to some other platformers, but not like in a problematic way.
No, but it will probably take people some adjustment to go through, especially the earlier forms. Like the pig is intentionally designed to be kind of shitty at jumping and such.
Because it's a fat pig and not like
Yeah.
something agile.
Basically, I mean, it's like when you unlock like the frog and the lion and the their movement options, you're not using the pig form or the snake form unless it's a situational thing.
Right, like you need to smell a thing, or there's an enemy that needs to be able to use magic. Also, the pig has an eye patch because I don't know why. Jin doesn't know why either. He literally comments like, "And I'm a pig with one eye, or with at least with an eye patch." One of the idle animations, he actually flips around, and they're both there. So
it's clearly just aesthetical.
Right, it's joke. It's joke.
Yeah, but and yeah, if you've played a Wonder Boy game in the past, you'll feel right at home here. No, it's it's the Monster World game we would have gotten in like the Saturn era. It's like, I mean, clearly not high def, but this kind of like this level of detail, this level of animation, this big of a game. Yeah, this is something that would have been trotted out in the 32-bit era, or maybe even, I'd say the Saturn PlayStation 1, because I think if this were a PlayStation 2 game, this would have been like low poly 3D. It would have been a 2D game, like Kelowna 2 or whatever.
Right, because that was the in thing then. They hadn't realized that you can still make a good game with just better 2D graphics.
Yeah, it's like, the PlayStation 1 era was kind of the last vestige of AAA level sprite work and the like. I mean, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, well, like even today, like you don't get, high budget 2D affairs.
True. I guess most of the games nowadays are like indie or single or double A or whatever.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, Monster Boy and the Cursed Kingdom is clearly a cut above some other, like say Siberian that we reviewed last week. In terms of art and just development resources. But it's still like this game wouldn't have been produced by any of the major publishers today on a high level. Like the closest analog we got is like the UbiArt games, and even those were smaller projects. The biggest one was Rayman Legends, and even that was considered to be a smaller AAA game. I'm not saying this is a correct perspective or anything. I'm just saying this is kind of where the 2D kingdom lies in the modern age. And if something is 2D, it's usually going to be done by 3D models. Like, so, getting a game of this quality, because it's not sprite, it's all hand-drawn. As opposed to sprite work.
Or dot art, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean, like pixel art. This is painted stuff. Which, oddly enough, the Dragon's Trap remake was as well. Although, if I had to, I'm thinking between the two, this one has the higher quality assets. Although that kind of makes sense, given that this was a game built from scratch.
Right.
And it's a much bigger game. But, I mean, the game looks gorgeous.
Yeah.
Animates fluid.
Really nice lighting and all that stuff.
I'll be honest, it's one of the most beautiful games I've ever seen. Just flat out, it looks astounding. Not just like in its technical quality, it's art. It's art aesthetic. Everything's on point here. Just a wonderfully gorgeous game to look at. let's see. The music's also spectacular as well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like,
it's not. It's mostly like,
yes.
It's not atmospheric isn't the right word, but it's very fitting to the mood that whatever section is trying to convey.
It's it's an older school of music, in keeping with the idiom of the game, because here's the thing. Old school music, that isn't fucking ambient.
Mm-hmm.
It's many things, but I can't think of like you pick an NES game or a Genesis game, the last thing you're probably going to like ambient music really didn't become a thing until like the 16-bit era. That's when shit like, you got like go listen to underwater music from the 16-bit era. That's when you're going to start hearing ambient inclusion. For the most part, though, music was much more memorable, much more dynamic, and that's the case here. First of all, some of the game is remixed tracks from the old games. Like there's an excellent rock guitar remix of like one of the Dragon Trap songs. For example, but it's got original music as well, like the Sky Area's music is really impressive, and it's also something that wouldn't have been able to have been done in the previous era. Like, it doesn't sound like pumped up 8-bit or 16-bit music. It's something that's not working from a MIDI core, if that makes any sense. But yeah, it's like the music's just amazing. Something I would actually listen outside of the game. Let me see here. And pricing. So the game clocks in at $30 on the PC, and I do believe that is the same price on the consoles. I
think the physical version on the Switch might be a little more because it comes with a neat old school instruction manual and stuff. So
yeah, Galax here picked up the physical version of the Switch, which was done in conjunction with Sega, believe it or not. That's why Monster Boy and the Cursed Kingdom, you can buy this, it's not hard to get kind of buy. Yeah, I'm looking up the physical version. That's clocking in at about $40.
So like I said, it comes with a neat instruction manual and stuff.
Yeah.
So
and
you may consider it worth it depending on how much you like that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's like the point is the game is worth it at $30 or $40. I know it's maybe not proper to judge things in terms of content and all that stuff, but it's what we do. And I think the game has, it's got a sufficient amount of content. It's got the production values. It's got, it feels like a game that justifies, a mid-range price point. And if you can get it on discount, all the better. But it's like, this isn't a game that I would expect to go on discount for a while. Like, I don't know if it's been on discount on the consoles. But and if it had a discount on PC, that's long gone. Worth noting, there is no DLC for the PC version, so any of the goodies contained in the physical version, you still have to get the physical version to do that. Like, for example, or if the manual's there in a PDA, it's in the game itself and not something that's free DLC, or an art book or the soundtrack. Yeah, surprisingly enough, the soundtrack isn't available on Steam.
Weird.
Yeah, I'd say that's an oversight. Actually, thinking about it, I think I know why the soundtrack isn't on Steam as a download. It's because this game has a sound test, sort of. I almost forgot about this. Another one of the collectibles.
Oh, right. It does the Shovel Knight thing.
Yeah, it's like...
Where there are collectibles of the music tracks from the game.
Yeah, all of the music tracks are collectibles as well, but you've got to find, like, 3 of the music sheets. Yeah, it's like, I'm going to go off on a limb here and say there were maybe too many collectibles in this game. Honestly, it's a bit rare-wary with the collectibles. Mm-hmm. But anyway, nitpicks aside, what we thought of this as a game... I'm just going to be frank with it. It's one of the best games I've played in a good long while. Mm-hmm. Definite contender for, like, Game of the Year. Granted, this is a port of a game that did come out last year. That really doesn't factor much into our Game of the Year rankings. I mean... Maybe if it's a game as old as Age of Wonders 3, we'll leave it off the list because, that's from half a decade ago. This game came out half a year ago. I think it can be, and this is a new port of that game. As far as differences between the PC version and the console versions, not Digital Foundry, so really couldn't say, but I'd imagine... it would probably be if the game supports, say, native 4K or whatever, that kind of deal. This isn't a game that's going to be really affected by power differentials all that much, despite how good it looks. I mean, that's another, and if there are problems, it'd be with the Switch version. And given that Collins has played it, I don't think have you encountered any problems?
No.
Yeah. Highest recommendation for Monster Boy and the Cursed Kingdom. Buy it today, next week, whenever you listen to this. That'll about do it for Monster Boy here. Be sure to tune in after the break as we review The Blackout Club.